We are live. Welcome to the EOS Podcast. My EOS Podcast friends, we have a really cool show for you today. We're going to be talking about Ubuntu Energy Ledger. They were the virtual hackathon winners for Africa, and this is a really cool project. I'm excited to talk to you about it. So Vital and John, go ahead and introduce yourselves, and we'll get started.
Well, hi everyone. I'm Vital Smevu. I happen to have founded Expo Trinity Group a few years ago, 7 years now. It's been a long time. And basically, we created Ubuntu Energy Ledger to solve one of the issues we've been seeing around on a day-to-day life as an entrepreneur. You know, growing up in a country and raising a company in a country where electricity is not really something that's free flowing. It's very, very hard to run a business there. So we really wanted to do something about it. And I was lucky enough to meet Chang a few months ago at Vivatech in Paris, where we were exhibiting. So Chang joined us as a CEO. I'll let Chang introduce herself. She's been awesome ever since.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Vital had great energy. We met working on pitches for different things he was doing, and he ended up going to Vivatech. It was a great idea. I ended up working with EOS and Block One as a mentor in London, and then they were doing a virtual hackathon in Africa. I suggested Vital that he join. He wanted to bring Ubuntu Energy Ledger to that, and he met other people who also had hackathon, Brian and Victor. They ended up being the tech side. They built something there at the hackathon, and then hence our relationship began.
Well, that's a great story. And the hackathon mentor, I was a mentor of the San Francisco hackathon, and that's a great spot for a lot of projects kind of come together at the hackathon. I think that's one of the coolest, most powerful parts of that. So that's cool to hear how you guys met there. I start the podcast generally with the first question is, what's most interesting to you about EOS? So Vital, you can go ahead and answer that and start, and then we'll go on from there.
Well, I think from a very African business person perspective, EOS is one of the first blockchain solutions that are really targeting real life issues. You know, blockchain in its architecture can really change the world, but EOS is really bringing to real life, problems. You know, during the EOS hackathon, I was really amazed by all the amazing innovations. They were there. They were really tackling real life issues, and EOS makes blockchain not look anymore like it's for some group of people who are very tech savvy. You know, I think EOS made us feel that, makes me feel that blockchain can really, solve day-to-day issues for not only small companies, but, for bigger corporations and other industries that are much more organized already and are much more difficult to disrupt. And I think it's the very first time that we can really disrupt all in industries. So that's really, really what makes me excited about EOS. And also the fact that, the whole vision around EOS with the VC fund, trying to fund projects that really want to change the world using that application. And the fact is it's open source. I was really, I really love the energy of the EOS community. It's a very, very friendly community. I remember, that's my last word. I remember doing the competition. It wasn't really a competition actually, because we made so many friends. Other teams were coming over, helping around, and it was really, really a family. Yeah, so that's really what I love about EOS, the family, and a lot of great minds getting together to change the world.
Yeah, it does seem like it is a big community. I mean, the block producers, how they all work together to launch the chain. All the if you need help in EOS from kind of some tech mentors, you can reach out really easily in Telegram, and everyone's trying to push the technology forward right now. It's competitive, but also collaborative. That is really
very
cool.
collaborative.
Yeah. How about you, Chan?
What I like is the energy. I mean, I was at the Hackathon London. I wanted to go to San Francisco. I mean, it was working out, but I mean, the energy, the organization that Block One has is it's off the hook. They treat you like you're superstars. And it's just, everyone is just willing to do anything, and everything seems possible. Reminds me of the internet way back in the day. So that's really nice. the sense of decentralization, the purity of it.
Yeah.
And the fact that back to what Vital was saying, is that it's not just building video games, which is fine, but there's so many other things you can do. And you feel like you could, in fact, they had a social impact prize. It shows you like that's where their mindset is. And I'm hoping that philosophy sticks through. And I see that all the different Telegram channels with like Shios and EOS Nairobi and the Block One channel. So I think it's very cool.
Yeah, there is these real world applications. People are trying to actually reach into the real world and do things, which is big. I mean, it gives you that feeling that there's going to be this one app or this one company that finally kind of breaks ground and get some really big adoption. So yeah, that is cool. A cool point. So tell us about, speaking of breaking into the real world, tell us about Ubuntu Energy Ledger, and first kind of what the problem is that it's going to solve, and then the solution.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, thank Johnny. You want something, or you?
No, go ahead. Go for it.
Well, yeah. Brandon, what happened is that I don't know if you ever experienced a blackout for 21 hours a day, like every day, like for months.
No, the power went out for 2 days once, and it was rough. Yeah.
So I mean, that can give you a pretty good feel of what we experience in Africa most of the time. Like in countries like Nigeria, you have only 3 hours of electricity per day, and it's the strongest economy in Africa. It's the most populated country on the continent. In my home country of Benin, I'm changing phone and computer quite often because the power is always cutting and destroying all the electronic equipment, and moving, even for out of those funny aspects in real life, businesses can't really scale. Like when you're in a world today where everything is digital, Africa is one of the most interesting markets in terms of mobile technology in the world, right? But still, we're still having that huge disconnect with the world huge gap in terms of energy. So that's basically the context in which Ubuntu Energy Ledger was born. Aside from the challenge of energy, you have other challenges like payments issues. In order for us, many African people and families want to transition to cleaner energy like solar, and even wind, but the acquisition costs for those equipments are still very expensive. For example, to have a 5 kilowatt, you need $5,000, and it's $1 million per megawatt, and it's still very, very expensive in an African context. And on the other side, 80% of us Africans are not really bankerized. We don't really have a bank account. We do have mobile banking, but it's still very limited. It still doesn't bring enough safety for financial institutions to make loans for families to be able to acquire, those stable sources of energy. So, having been, as opportunity as a company in fintech for the past 7 years in Africa, we've built a very strong experience. We've built the largest distribution network in our country, and have been working with over 1,000 trade points in Benin. We actually became the largest distribution network in our country, digitizing e-commerce and payment solutions, like a mix of eBay and PayPal and Amazon in one, but in an African context. What we noticed is that there was a very high demand in solar panels. Like a lot of people were like the population itself, and with the help of Chinese company, China is very present in Africa. Chinese companies have been bringing a lot of cheap, solar equipment on the continent. And what I've noticed, during one of my trips, I was in Nigeria, Lagos, and I was asking one of the ladies at the airport about solar market, in Nigeria. She was actually pulling my wheelchair because I work with a walking stick. I need a wheelchair at the airport. So she asked me a very specific question. She asked me, "Does it have an inverter?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's a very specific question," and that gave me a feel. Later on, ask drivers and everybody on the market is pretty knowledgeable about the whole solar market. So the need is there. People are buying it, and the challenge for many of the middle class and low classes is that they can't really afford solutions. So that's really why we decided to create Ubuntu Energy Ledger, because we're looking at the population that want to buy. They want clean energy, because in Lagos, for example, you have generators everywhere, and which is destroying so much pollution, so much noise in the city, and people really want to transition. So Ubuntu and Ledger, we thought, what if we could use all the groups, in those urban areas, and even all the other areas in the country, and use them as a big solar park? Because many governments are trying to build solar parks, but they're expensive, and transporting their energy, to inhabited areas, still very expensive, and there's a lot of energy that's lost on the way. So we really wanted to leverage on the power that blockchain brings in terms of data management, and also bring the power that decentralized energy production brings to disrupt the whole energy industry on the continent. And we also wanted to leverage on the payment experience we had doing payment on the continent. So Ubuntu and Energy Ledger, what is it exactly? We allow independent investors from anywhere in the world to invest in real solar equipment on roofs. We're starting from Africa. It can really scale to anywhere in the world. But the beautiful thing about our technology is that we have a physical meter, which is coded on EOS blockchain, and those meters that we built the prototype we presented during the grand finale. Those smart meters are equipped with SIM cards, and real time we can monitor how much energy is produced by the solar panels, and we can resell those energies. Those energies produced can be resold to households in different neighborhoods who are in need of energy. And it's basically on the prepaid basis. They buy some energy credit, and through our blockchain, our EOS app, we can monitor real time how much energy was produced, how much energy was sold, and reward investors, and in great hosts and ourselves as a company through that platform. So that's basically what we do, and the power of it is that suddenly you have a household in Africa who couldn't afford energy before, and who was getting energy bills anyway, which were very expensive. Energy in Africa is so much more expensive than anywhere else in the world. And it's just such a paradox, seeing that the population has such a low purchasing power. So suddenly they can purchase energy nearly half the price of the current price they have, and they have stable energy that's there because it's free energy, it's clean energy, and really it creates economic opportunities for the families that are really hosting the grids. So the impact that Ubuntu Energy Ledger is bringing is really huge. And to close on that, the strength that we have as a company managing fiat, we have our own run of Visa cards. We've been working with merchants. And I'm going to really introduce to what Chang was wanting to mention. We have trade points and businesses on the continent generating money. The governments can't really trace them because it's a lot of informal and cash economy. A lot of these people, that economy had transitioned to mobile banking today. And we're able today to trace how much money is being generated by those people. And those businesses want to have a clean and stable energy. And that's really where, as Ubuntu Energy Ledger, as a subsidiary of Exportunity Group, is leveraging on the network that we already have with Exportunity, and providing the clean energy to all that network of trade point that we already have. And the government of Benin, my home country, has signed an LOI to help us in our pilot that we are currently working to deploy. So I'm going to let Chang continue.
Right, so I'll make it so there's two parts, right? The big vision is you bring energy to Africa, right? That's the grand vision. But in order to do that, we want to build on already what's succeeded, what's working. What's working is Exportunity has been running for 2 years, and their top 50 clients on average bring in 20,000 per order, which is quite high. And this is without these consistent access to power and the cost of the power as it is. So imagine if you can take solar, wind, those types of renewable resources, bring it and bring it as an investment opportunity to these businesses that are already set up using opportunity and saying, here, you have access to either panel or a wind, turbine at this cost, and your energy will go down, your cost of energy, and you have this resource available to you hopefully 24 hours a day. Not that you work 24 hours a day. And so can you imagine what that revenue would, from 20,000 an order, what it could be if they could scale. If they scale, they produce, that's very entrepreneurial, they can hire people, they can go faster. Right now it's just one woman. It's mostly women. How many women run these businesses?
Yes.
60 businesses women?
Yeah, nearly 60% of the women, those businesses are led by female. Yeah.
Right. So these are the women who are supporting them, and if they could do that, then you scale. So from there, you take this business model that's already set up, you bring this as an opportunity, and then from there, it breaks out into the villages, because obviously then individuals would like to, and families, et cetera, et cetera. Kind of like it just disperses. And then, of course, you leverage the power of EOS, and then voila, it's just a whole different ballgame. So you put all those in, it's kind of the eye of the storm. So right now we're profiling these top 50 companies, figuring out of the top 50 who would be the best fit. 40% of them comes from 2 different cities, Calavi and Aquaqua.
Yes.
Forgive my horrible English. And they generate a great deal of money in these trade points. So we're scaling that, and that's the problem we're solving. But it's really not a problem, because it's an opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like an amazing opportunity. So let me just kind of, in layman's terms, see if I understand kind of how this works here. So the problem is, obviously not enough people have power in Africa, and the solution is providing solar panels. So you're going to provide a solar panel kit to like households or people,
or wind, whichever.
Or a wind kit. Okay. And then on the investor end, there's going to be kind of a people who are generating power and selling it to consumers in the area. So maybe a hospital, I've seen used as an example, maybe a hospital, they invest in a lot of solar panels, and then they sell that energy out to people in the local area there.
That's part of it. But at the beginning, it would be to businesses. So businesses are already making money, who could run it, and then you're building. And so if you want to invest, you could probably have part of a revenue share, because they're already making 20,000 order. So you have a guarantee of you're really building on economic model and helping to scale small business owners to be like.
So in the beginning, small business owners are the main consumer or the main hub for the energy, you're saying?
A little bit of both, actually.
A little both,
yeah.
Okay.
And then from there you go into consumer, because consumer would be the next step.
Okay, so you were starting with businesses because there's a flow of cash there already.
Yes,
is what you're
exactly.
saying. Okay, I see. Yeah, I mean, and so how many do some businesses have these solar panels on them right now, or where's it at in the process right now?
If I may answer that, like there's over 80,000, businesses already with a solar panel we identify and work with. We already sold some solar panel too, so that's already a client business already there. And basically, we're trying to work with those, some of them, the top 50 that Chang was mentioning, to help them resell that clean energy they already have. And we're really trying to help them, get access to other sources of energy like wind, so that already in the immediate neighborhood, they can already bring the change, also bring energy change, also generate some income for themselves and their families, and also create some jobs.
And they'll have access to adapt, obviously. So then you're leveraging the blockchain technology, they see it, and it all becomes like part of like the regular day-to-day for them.
Okay, so you've profiled these top 50 businesses that already have solar, you're saying, and you want to connect them to the Ubuntu energy ledger so that they can sell the energy that they already have.
Exactly.
Okay, I understand.
And then take it out to those who don't, and then just, phase by phase.
Mm-hmm. So how far along and where's the roadmap as far as maybe getting the tech finished and getting that out to
That's a great question. Brian and Victor are people that we've obviously met at the virtual hackathon, connected them, and they are helping to build that, and they're quite active in the EOS Nairobi space and running a lot of hackathons, and they have built the first phase of the MVP for the DApp. The website is up, and so we're right now in testing mode. So we're hoping by the end of the month that we'll have it up and running. They're going to test it in a pilot in Kenya, in Benin. As Vital mentioned, there's a letter of intent and LOI has already been signed. So that's where we are. And the roadmap was be obviously within the first 2 quarters of this year, we get those 50 businesses that fit that profile and get them up and running, and then move it into phase by phase. And obviously, the ambition is to bring it to all countries. But I think it's Benin, Kenya, Senegal.
And then we're talking Nigeria right after, because Nigeria is right next to Benin. And just to mention, the need is huge in Nigeria. It's the biggest economy on the continent. And the government only produces 10% of the energy needs, and it's just a huge market. So we're making sure, as James mentioned, that we get it right in Benin as a small scale, so that we can scale it from there.
Like bring it to like a winery in Cape Town. I'm sure you've been to Cape Town. Very good in South Africa. So something like using the wind power there to get the money.
It's just not a joke. During my pitch, at the EOS finale, the day before, there was a 2 hours power cut in Cape Town.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I see. I mean, the parallels here are interesting to think about, especially like something like how computers were kind of skipped in Africa and people jumped to cell phones because so there's kind of these leaps in Africa that you've seen before where, everyone maybe all didn't have access to computers, but when they had access to cell phones, it was adopted so quickly. And it feels like this is possible in this situation as well. Like maybe everyone doesn't have access to an electrical grid, which you see other places, but there's this possible leapfrog where you can individually get solar panels out into small businesses and grassroots movement. And it could, if it catches on, it could go really quickly.
Even with the crypto as well, because everything's done in cash. So it's also a very nice alternative because they're not big fans of the bank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the banking in your hand is a great point. The other interesting parallel is something like Uber, where it's decentralizing some sort of centralized structure, but starting at just with a few individuals in a specific place. But those types of things, are kind of like wildfire. They can start really small, like in Berlin, like you're saying, but then the expansion can be kind of wild to see if if the incentives are right. So it's what an interesting project. Really cool.
Yeah. And I think Oxford Trinity they did that when in their company. They took the PayPal meets Amazon eBay model and said, we're going to do it our way, which is what Vital founded. And they've done it where they've had a really great network.
Oh, okay. Can you tell me about that project that she's talking about there, Vital?
Yeah. Basically we created a static opportunity in an environment where there was no investors. So, as someone always says, when you don't have money, you become smart. You start finding ways to get things, cheaper and more efficiently. So for many years, we had to learn efficiency and, simple ways to scale things. So every time we had something complicated, we always found ways to make it simple. So when we finally launched our pilot, it spread like wildfire because within 6 months, we became the largest distribution network in the country. And today we also signed with the National Post in the country. We inherited 108 offices, giving us a very deep presence in the country. And we use the mobile banking network. You heard about mobile banking in Africa. All those independent mobile banking operators, we made them use our solution so that people can not only load money there, but also make on e-commerce. Basically, people can come to those mobile banking points and pay cash and order something online, and I deliver at home. And today we are moving into a Uber Eats-like model. It's a kind of a hybrid model for the B2C side. But, the solar panels, the solar equipments that we are doing with Ubuntu are basically going to be sold and delivered to the household through that specific channel that we already have. So, coming back to Ubuntu, we've used the same philosophy, asking ourselves, if we test it here now, can it be easy to replicate? And the answer is absolutely yes. Because today we focus on our role as a company, as an information management company, and we empower the local operators who are already doing, who are in energy in every market, who are already used to installing solar equipment. We empower them to our platform. And that was beautiful about it. And what you mentioned the parallel to Uber. The beauty about it is that we are empowering the communities that are already there. We are helping them better handle their energy needs. And and maybe that question didn't come to your mind. We took in consideration government regulations. Africa most of the time copies one of the, in my country specifically, copies one of the strongest, most difficult energy regulations, from Europe and that. So we took that in consideration in designing the Ubuntu model, so that we are even compliant with the law anywhere. We need to, if we need to collaborate with a national electricity company, we do. For example, in Benin, we received the LOI from the government. That has shown, and we've developed the agility, and we put it at the core of the model as well.
What's the LOI from the government entail? What are they like? Kind of what are they just saying that you're all legal, or that they'll work with you, or what's that look like?
It's even more interesting. The country has a huge energy need, and you have several, pockets of neighborhoods which need sustainable energy, and the national company, the company can't really, supply them. So the LOI says that the government is going to be posting their energy needs on the platform, so that independent investors through our platform can invest and help the government fulfill those energy needs. So this can be really, really big. It can be a model that other governments can also, look at and replicate, because for them, they don't need to be filling too much paper, just a description of a product, and the different investors. The beautiful thing about the blockchain community is that you have some certain people who are really, conscious of doing good for the planet, and they have the money, the crypto money for it. So we want to really leverage on that network as well, so that they can really help. Governments and crypto can work together. And a lot of people think they're antagonists, but I think all of them want to serve the community. And we really, in that deep belief that, we can leverage on, the blockchain world to finance government projects to solve energy problems. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's really true about that's why I became a part of the EOS community in crypto, is because because there's so many people trying to push the world forward, like in a way that's altruistic, or they actually have a genuine want for the world to be a better place. I think that's kind of an underlying theme of a lot of crypto projects, which I love. So that's cool to see. So what's it look like for people, investors, or from the investor end? Because you've mentioned investors a couple of times. It sounds like, is there opportunity for outside investors to be a part of it, and how's that look?
Oh, that's what's beautiful about it. The Ubuntu smart meters are put, as I mentioned, near on the system, in energy generation system, right? So as an investor, you come online, you see any energy project anywhere on the map, and it can be anywhere in the world. You decide to invest in it, and with the power of blockchain, you can identify the real solar panel that you have bought, where it has been installed. You have its GPS location, and you can monitor real time its performance. So people who have been plugged to that energy, that energy system, it can be solar or wind, you know exactly how much, of the energy credit they have bought, because the blockchain platform allows you to see that real time. That's what's beautiful about it. So it reassures investors that you invest in the solar panel somewhere in the world. You help the family, you help the community, and we didn't want to go into that free model where you just give the company. We really want to generate return on investment for investors, so that they can use the fund generated to buy new solar equipment for new communities, and really create that virtuous circle. Creating abundance of energy and an abundance of financial resources for both ends.
Right, and that's for the consumer side. On the business side, it would be similar. They'd have the same kind of gap, but also there could be, depending on what business it is, if it's a similar business, like I'm an investor and I have fashion, I want to work with someone who's in textiles, and I want to work with someone who has certain materials, so I can, do my fashion line. I might want to invest in her, and we share revenue, and that's part of why I get just a revenue share. So it depends on what it is, because she's making 20,000 order, but I'm one of those orders. She's able to export to me. So there's a lot of opportunity there on the B2B side as well. So it depends on what kind of investor. If you're a Kiva type investor, you want to help a family, or if you want to go to a business as a business to business, because there's opportunity for you to get something out of it besides just a percentage of the revenue, but a product that you could use for your own business at a different rate. Because there are a lot of things, resources and things being made in Benin and different parts of Africa that I know people would love to have export out, but they don't know how to get there, if it's legitimate, how you track it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it sounds like investors they can come in two different forms. It can be a business or a place that's actually buying solar panels for their roof and they're distributing the power, but it can also be just an individual at their computer looking and investing into one of those just via online. Is that right?
Right, or an association.
That is correct.
Nonprofits.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Similar to what Kiva does. It says we're going to micro-lend some money and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. That micro lending and that whole concept is also so it unlocks so much potential in the world, because there's a lot of there's people all over the world who are willing or want to help but maybe don't have the means to get out to Africa and build infrastructure. So it's unlocking lots of potential, not only that's global potential, but then you think about the just human potential in Africa that is naturally unlocked as power starts turn the lights on places and
exactly.
The ripple effect could be huge. It's really cool to think about.
Yeah, it'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah. And on the platform we give the possibility for families who receive the light to give feedback and shoot videos. I mean, you invest and you really see the impact of what you're doing. You can trace the impact with blockchain. That's what's really huge about it. And as an investor, you don't have to invest on the whole full solar panel. You can invest 10% of the solar panel. Someone else can put 50% of the money. And it really, this community effect of getting together to really change the world. That's really what, the spirit.
Powering one home at a time, one business at a time.
Yeah.
Businesses are already making money. Businesses want to make money. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a big picture project, but it sounds like it's starting in grassroots, which is a beautiful way to scale, and it's got a good vision behind it. So, I look forward to following this project along the way. As we start, as we get towards the last 5 or 10 minutes here, do you guys have anything else that you want to add about Ubuntu? Maybe anything that we kind of skipped over or that you'd like to talk about?
I mean, we're open to anyone in the EOS community who'd like to reach out and be part of this, whether as an investor or micro lender, or just wants to join the team, has ideas. We are big fans of think global, act local. Like you said, you may not be able to make it there, but still you can contribute, advice or be part of anything. So that's something I would like to really put out there to the community, because I know it's very collaborative, as we spoke about, and there's such a great energy. And I think regardless of if it's a crypto winter or not, it doesn't really seem to do anything to the energy because it's still growing. So I think that would be the one thing I would like to say.
Yeah, and if I may just add to that, I mean, really, I've personally been really blessed to meet Chang, with Brian and Victor, and everybody else, all the people in the EOS community. We started with a project from Benin. It became a global project, and it's really, that's the spirit. It's not just for Africa. Our vision is that later on, we start in Africa, but maybe we can really solve that energy issue for all the people in the world, who really need energy. And because the need is everywhere, and also for the countries who need to transition, energy-wise, it's also a very, very good, path toward transitioning and helping the planet. We have this crazy dream of powering 4 billion people by 2030, and really the message is, if anybody in the world, in the crypto, in the EOS community, believe that we can really change the world with blockchain, we really invite them to join us. I can't wait to see the impact we'll make together.
Yeah. Well, those sometimes, or I mean, it's kind of a funny way that it works, but bigger ideas like that, trying to power 4 billion people, can gain more traction than ideas that seem smaller and easier, because those big visions people love to get behind and help out. So those are kind of sometimes the ones that end up actually working. So that's fantastic. I love that big vision. That's pretty cool. Very cool. Where is the best place for people to find you and follow up, or if they have ideas they want to help out? Where's the best place for people to find you online?
We have a Telegram channel. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. So those would be the best places to find us and see What for the EOS community? I think. Let's see. I think what would be the best. Probably Telegram, don't you think?
And yeah, probably Telegram, and I'll put, and you can provide some links, and I'll throw them in the show notes so that people can find you via the show notes. So it'll be right in the bottom there, my EOS friends. And on my end, the EOS podcast, this is on YouTube. This is also a podcast version, so you can listen at work when you're supposed to be working. You can put your earbud in and learn about EOS. So and hear about cool projects like this. I'm also part of the San Francisco block producer. We're doing all kinds of interesting stuff. So check that out. And thank you guys so much for coming onto the show, Vital and Sean. I really appreciate it. And yeah,
can I take a picture of all of it?
Yeah, absolutely. A selfie, you said?
Pretty much.
Nice. That's awesome. That's fantastic. I haven't had that one before. That's great. I look forward to seeing that on the social somewhere. Well, that wraps up the show. Ubuntu Energy Ledger. Wait, let me get this right. A grid for the people, by the people. Coming to a city near you, my EOS podcast friends. Cheers.
Cheers, Brandon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
The money is not the prime asset in life. Time is, and your time is.